Hi everyone, welcome to Rike Sports TV and our F1 show with Ollie from F1 Global. Hi Ollie, how are you?
I'm good, mate. It's race week finally. Good to go.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So hoping for a much better race than last time out. So we know Monaco can be quite a boring race. I think this was one of the most boring ones we've seen in many years. It was a procession for Max Verstappen in the end, easy win for him. The interesting thing was how well Ferrari done. So as always, qualifying is kind of more entertaining than the race in Monaco, and this one was no different with a surprise Ferrari doing so well. We saw during practice they were really fast, and then they carried that form into qualifying. Leclerc had the provisional fastest time, but then he goes and puts it in the wall, which can happen when it's a tight track. These small mistake happens, and you lose the car. So that obviously caused the red flag to come out, and that affected the rest of the drivers who were on hot laps. Verstappen was up at that time. He was saying he felt like he could get pole, and so Bottas as well. Bottas done really well. I've got to give it to him. He done really well that weekend, considering Hamilton was struggling so much, and in general Mercedes was struggling so much. So then, the starting grid was Verstappen and Bottas were actually elevated because what happened with Leclerc after he crashed his car. We know he had this drive shaft damage with his gearbox, so he couldn't start from pole. That was a shame. So that elevated. What they done is they didn't actually change the grid, did they? They didn't move the cars up. They kept it as they were, so second, third, fourth. So it meant that actually Verstappen was starting in first place with Bottas behind him and then Sainz behind him. And then in the race, it was looking quite tight between Verstappen and Bottas. But as we know, you can't really overtake around that track. And then Bottas had this really damaging situation with a pit stop, like really unlucky for him. Doesn't happen. I've not seen that happen in a long time where they just couldn't get the wheel nut off and he had to retire from the race. And then, easy win for Max in the end. Sainz tried to close him down, but, it didn't have a pace there in the race pace from Ferrari. And even if he did on that track, it's so hard to pass, as we know, through years. So, that was then a good performance as well from Lando Norris in the McLaren. He got the podium, third place. Lewis was all the way down in seventh place, which was really surprising to see him that far down. He did get the fastest lap of the race, so he got a point. What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, it was amazing from Ferrari. We sort of spoke briefly after, sort of message after the race. You feel for Max would have got pole. I feel for Carlos Sainz because I feel like he was rapid. I think he could have put it on the front row. He was very confident. And, it's a real shame. You've got the results in front of me. Max was only 200 behind him, behind Charles, and he was definitely on pace to beat him. I think other things to pull out, though, from qualifying at least, Giovinazzi in 10th. It's a great result from Alpha. He's one of those weird drivers that you forget is in the sport, and I know that sounds really horrible, but, if he keeps doing results like this, Alpha needs to sort of just stay ahead of Williams and Haas. That's where their target is. Keeps doing results like this, keeps getting a point or two on the board like he did. He got a point. He's going to keep that seat. He is a Ferrari driver, sort of, but he's mostly contracted by Alpha. So fair play to him. I personally would think about maybe replacing him or, I'd definitely replace Kimi. But I thought that was great from him. Sergio Perez down in 9th, which was a bit strange to see maybe, especially compared to Max. But qualifying was a bit odd, actually. Like Vettel up in 8th, fantastic to see. Me and you are big Vettel fans, so seeing him qualify 8th and finish 5th I was really, really happy, actually. So he's already leapfrogged Lance Stroll as well in the driver's standings. But Yuki Tsunoda was slow in quali again, which is a bit odd to see. And in fact, Red Bull have actually moved him from the UK to Italy. So he's going to be even closer with the team. So that's a bit interesting because there was a lot of hype on him going into this season. And it's been very difficult post-Bahrain. And I was one of the people hyping him up, fully admit that. So I think it'll be interesting to see maybe how that change affects him. Hopefully, mentally, he stays strong because we saw it with Albon. As soon as you get in a bit of a downward spiral, that can kill your career in a way, or at least kill your confidence. So hopefully he keeps his chin up. But Fernando Alonso down in 17th, I feel like that's maybe something we haven't spoken about. I definitely thought this, and I think we both maybe said it. I thought Alonso was going to completely wipe the floor with Ocon. I rate Ocon highly, I really do, but it's Fernando Alonso. So, you do feel like maybe you have to give it that, that level as well. But he's not do very well, which was a real shame to see. And then in the race, he got up to 13th, but again, Ocon climbed from, I think, 11th to 9th, and he's outscoring him, he's outperforming him. So, maybe Alonso just doesn't have it like he used to. He's been out of sport a couple of years. But yeah, I think you're perfectly spot on. There was nothing really with the race apart from Charles at the start, Bottas, that 43-hour pit stop that I think Mercedes clocked it at. And then that was about it. I mean, something else to note maybe was Mick Schumacher, with our favourite other driver, Nikita Mazepin. He was told to give the position up. I don't know if people saw this. He was told to give the position up because he had a fuel flow issue, which limited the power in the car. So they said, let Mazepin by because you're slow. Fair enough. That's exactly what you should do. You're not fighting anyone. He then dropped back by about 38 seconds, but he made that time up well before the finish, which was really interesting to see, actually. I did say Schumacher, I think, would take a little bit of time to get used to it, but that was proving me wrong for sure, that actually he made up that 38-second gap around Monaco to his teammate, and then his team wouldn't let him pass him. So Schumacher's obviously confident in that car already, which is really cool to see. Just hopefully he can get a couple more results that, are higher than 18th. But yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It was a bit of a boring race, but it's Monaco. So I'm not too sure what else to expect. So yeah, who's your driver of the day? Because there's quite a few picks you could choose, actually. But for me personally, it's Vettel, driver of the day for sure. But yeah, what about you?
Same, Vettel. Really good performance. It's been a while to see him up there as well this season. It took a bit of time to settle in. Aston Martin's not been too fast. So it was nice to see him back up there doing well, doing better than his teammate as well. There's been a lot of question marks, he's not been doing so well compared to his teammate. And you're always judged on that. I know he's new to the team, and obviously Lance isn't. It's that settling in phase. We've seen Daniel Ricciardo go through it at McLaren, up against Nando, Perez, Red Bull is taking some time. And the big one you mentioned is Fernando Alonso. So it's now got to a point where it's not just been a couple of races. We've had quite a sample size now to say that what is going on with Fernando? Like, what has happened? Has he just lost his touch? You think being out of the sport for a couple of years has made him, just all of a sudden he's lost a lot of speed. He used to always, that was the thing about him, he was always able to beat his teammates comfortably, apart from one, at McLaren, as we know, Lewis Hamilton. But apart from that, every teammate he's had, he's normally wiped the floor of them. Even the likes of Kimi Räikkönen, Felipe Massa, really good drivers, he was beating them comfortably. So we're all thinking, same as you were saying, you should easily be Ocon, but it's not been like that. What do you think? It's just from being out of the sport for 2 years? Or you think it's because he's getting older?
I mean, it's tough to say it's him getting older. I think, you look at Kimi, you look at Nando. I mean, he's still been racing in really high-class motorsport. Le Mans, he's been racing at Indy. But I think it's the car. I think he left during the hybrid era, which we are still in. But the changes from 2018 when he left, I think end of 2018 to now, huge. I think that's what he struggled with. And perfect example would be the new guys coming in, Ricciardo going to McLaren, like you said, and Perez. Yes, the cars are all the same, but actually switching between teams is a huge change. It's a huge difference. And with Ricciardo, so many people have come out and said the way the McLaren drives is completely unique to every other team. So that could be part of it. But yeah, I mean, for me, with Alonso, he is one of the greatest of all time. I don't think it is the car. I think it's him adapting to the car and the new regs, because we saw the Ferrari in 2012, 2013. That was not a good Ferrari, but he nearly won the world title in that Ferrari, which should not have been anywhere near the world title. It was a Red Bull, then sort of McLaren fight for those years. So he can get the best out of a bad car. Yeah, again, we saw that with Renault when he was back there in 2008, 2009. So yeah, it's really odd to see, but I don't know. I feel like we do have to give him more time, but at the same time, if you're the boss of Alpine, you're sitting there going, God, we're paying him a lot of money. We've got him this season, and then there's more changes next season. So maybe it'll level it up. Maybe something will change. Or do Alpine go, actually, there's a guy called Pierre Gasly, who's French, young, race winner. Maybe we should sort of say to Alonso, we're going to stop this after this year and go for him alongside Ocon, because imagine that, a French team with masses of heritage and history in French racing, rally and track, etc., with 2 young French drivers, one of them a race winner, that would be really, really cool for them. So some big decisions they have to make, but you never know. I mean, like I said at the start of the season, Alonso is still my pick to win a random race because it's Alonso. I would never really bet against him. So yeah, I think if there's a safety car this weekend, a couple of safety cars, Alonso can win it. You know, I've just got that belief in him. But yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, maybe we expected too much. And these regs, you know, like we've said about the high rake, the low rake have changed a lot. So yeah, I'm not too sure. Not too sure what to expect for the rest of the season from him.
Yeah, so same with you. As you're saying, he's such a world-class driver. There's no way that you can write him off. You know, there's still time this season for him to turn that around. And I'm sure it's a combination of a few things, you know, being out of the sport for a couple of years, as you said, the car, getting adapting to the car. I don't think it's so much about age, but he is getting older, but he's not that old yet. You know, Kimi's a little bit older now, isn't he? Kimi's a few years older than him still. So, yeah, so I think just in time, he should turn it around. I really hope he does. You know, he's one of the best drivers ever. No doubt questioning how great a driver he has been. And just it's a surprise to see him down there struggling against a teammate for me. I've never seen that in that extent, you know, in all these years. So, yeah, let's see how it goes for him. In terms of others, so as you're saying, just taking some points away from the last race, Nando again was looking really good. You know, he seems to be really well. We're saying Ricciardo has been struggling. Ricciardo's normally really good around Monaco, but again, it's about adapting to the car. Sergio Perez as well. Again, you know, he qualified way down considering how fast Max was. He qualified way down. And yeah, what was your thoughts on them two?
I mean, I'll start with Perez. Qualifying again, he needs to sort that out. That's always been his bogey, though, to be fair. Like, I can only think of a couple of really good Perez qualifying performances. You know, I think Spa back in 2019, maybe, when they switched. Yeah, 2019, when they were in the middle of that legal issue, you know, Force India had run out of money, the team could have folded, and that's when it actually became Racing Point. You know, I think he qualified P2, maybe, P3. But I can't think of any good Perez qualifying performances. So, you know, he did struggle, but I mean, he got up to P4, so we've got to give him that. Like, great drive, but problem is, like we said, he needs to be in that top 4 unit so he can mix it up with the Mercedes and support Max. That's what he's there for. But, you know, if he can still help by picking up these results, I don't think they'll mind where he qualifies, really. And then, yeah, with Danny Rick, it's a difficult one to judge because, you know, like I said, so many people have come out and said how difficult this car is to drive compared to others. I think even Lando and Carlos Sainz have both said that. But also, his performances have actually been all right. Like, he's scored points in all races but this one. You know, he's got, a 6th and 8th, I think a 7th and a 9th, maybe something like that. So he's got good results, you know, especially at first. He's out qualifying Lando as well. I think people seem to happily forget that. You know, he's out qualifying him 3-2. But obviously the big problem is on Sundays, that's where people look. They look at the Drivers' Championship. He's in the podiums. Lando's already got 2 this season. Ricciardo hasn't. But similar to Alonso, I would not write Ricciardo off. You know, he's a 7-time race winner now, I think. 7-time race winner. 30, 40 odd podiums, probably. I think probably like 20 or 30. You know, including the couple with Renault last year. So, yeah, I think just wait a little bit longer. You know, it's good that it's not just him who's been struggling. You know, Vettel's been struggling. The rookies obviously have been struggling. Alonso's been struggling. Perez has been struggling. So that's good for him maybe to see. Obviously, Carlos Sainz hasn't, but he had a lot more testing time. People do forget, I think, as well, these guys, if they didn't have private tests or if they didn't have time in the young driver test at the end of last season, they've had 3 sessions in these cars before they were going full throttle in a race. And we've said it before, we agree on this. There needs to be more testing time, definitely at the start of the season, I think. Fair enough, don't have it in the middle, like, fine. But at the start, they need an extra session or 2, maybe a different track, you know, 2 sessions in Jerez, 2 sessions in Bahrain, maybe. But obviously they want to keep the money down. So, you know, I think just give him a little bit more time. But yeah, but speaking of time as well, the flexi wing issue has been pushed back to post Azerbaijan. So it won't be addressed after the next race. So, what have Mercedes said about that? Do you know?
Yeah, so Toto Wolff was not happy at all, saying that it's an unfair advantage, but he doesn't understand why they want to wait until after the next Grand Prix to look at it, and he's thinking about complaining to the stewards during the actual next race itself, because technically, if it is not meant to be there, then the car is illegal for that race and it shouldn't be on the grid. So he's got a point, and there's not much argument that the wing is moving. I've been reading a few pieces on this, and it is moving a bit too much, is what they're saying. Now, the actual technical thing behind it, Red Bull are still confident that it's within the range, and as the rules currently are, but they've adjusted that slightly, and they're going to retest them after this race. So then depends what's going to happen there. So what we've been reading is that all the teams obviously ready, but if they say no, it's fine, they're going to have their own versions ready to stick it on the cars so that they're not losing out. If not, then it's going to disadvantage Red Bull, obviously, because they're going to have to then change their rear wings back to what the others' concepts are. So it's a big decision coming up, and I don't think Toto Wolff's appeal for it to be seen soon is going to happen, because it's so close to the time now. I think they'll allow it because they allowed it in the last race. If it was that much of an issue, they could have brought it up in the last race. So they've allowed it in the last race. I think they'll allow it this race. I mean, when they review it, that's going to be a huge decision ahead of the rest of the season. As we've seen, it's been very competitive between Red Bull and Mercedes, and we're really all enjoying seeing it like this. The battle between Lewis and Max for the World Championship. So let's hope. We don't know how much of an advantage it's given Red Bull, as you were saying when we were speaking about it last time. We don't really know. It might not be that much of an advantage. So let's see. It all remains to be seen, really. What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, I'm so 50-50 on it. Like, the regulations have loopholes that teams find and exploit, and I think that's fine to a degree. But I think waiting this long is a bit of a mixed take, because Baku is a track where it's going to benefit them massively. That long straight is it's going to help them so much, if it is helping them a lot. But personally, I think they should have done it sooner, these tests, but they obviously haven't. And it's interesting to see actually what the teams are saying. So Ferrari have come out and admitted they've been running a flexi rear wing. So it's not just Red Bull, but obviously Red Bull are the title challengers. So that's why there's big focus. And then Alpine have said as well as Ferrari and obviously Red Bull that they've got wings ready in development for France. So this will be post the new tests that are ready to go. So whatever the FIA say, it looks like teams already reacting to allowing certain levels of flex or no flex or whatever. But then on the other hand, you have some teams actually not being happy with this change. Like obviously Christian Horner, Red Bull team principal, has said he's not happy, but who was it? I think the Alpine CEO, so Laurent Rossi, and the Alfa Romeo team principal, so Vasseur, have said the mid-season move, so changing these regs and rules mid-season, is a joke, which I actually do agree with. You have these rules in place. If they are technically within the rules at point of testing, then for me, it's fine. That's the whole point. The FIA should have better tests ready at that point. The F1 teams have just been smarter than you, and I think that's what the FIA don't like. But and then you've got Seidel and obviously Toto Wolff, so McLaren and Mercedes saying it's messy and they disagree with the delay. But funnily enough, those are two teams, one who are sort of very much with Red Bull, chasing them down, and one who are looking to chase Red Bull and battle with Ferrari, who are running a flexi wing. So we see this all the time in F1. Couple of teams who are making the most of loophole that they find. The double diffuser was the last obviously big one. Couple of teams ran it, did really well. Others protested. Others got on with it and did the same. And then the FIA sort of had their hands tied and said, "Oh, actually, end of season, you're not allowed to do this anymore." So I'm all for flexi rearing. Why not? I'm going to be controversial. If you don't like it, Mercedes fans, come at me. But just purely to see something different on track as well. Verstappen is leading the championship. Red Bull are leading the championship. This has never happened in the hybrid era. So if that means we keep a flexi rear wing, we're going to keep a flexi rear wing. So, yeah. And then it could mix up Baku as well, because this is a Mercedes track at the end of the day. Red Bull have won here, yes. But at the same time, this is a Mercedes track through and through. They love Baku. So it could really mix it up. You never know. You never know. What about you? Are you for or against it?
I agree with you. I think that if it's passed the test so far, then why do we need to adjust it now? Why do you need to change the rules slightly? What's the need? Like, it's past what test you set at the beginning of the season. It's past it. They've been innovative. They found a way of making it suit their car really well now. It's really not fair to all of a sudden then say to them, oh no, you need to change that. It's funny, I was reading some comments online. So people comment, as you said, it's always that way. So the teams that it doesn't benefit, they're going to be making lots of noise and saying, no, it's not on, it should be changed. And obviously the teams that benefit saying, no, we want to keep it. So a lot of the comments online were like, if Mercedes were 1 second ahead of Red Bull, like they have been in previous seasons, they wouldn't say a thing. And it's very funny as well, because where it's people say that Mercedes often say this. Toto Wolff says it, Lewis Hamilton says it, that we like the competition, we like to be challenged. So now they've actually got a challenge. It seems that they don't actually want it, but rather be 1 second ahead. Which it is in the day, it's about winning. So even though they say they want to have competition, I think it's better personally in their shoes, rather be 1 second ahead. It's less stressful.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Every weekend you get into the race, you're 1 second ahead, easy. Win the world championships easily. That's a much better scenario. So obviously, for media purposes and to make it seem like they want a nice battle, they say that we want more competition. But no, if they can have it winning races easily, they'll rather that every time, and you can't blame them.
No. I mean, I'd be the same if I was a team boss. If I was a driver, you do whatever you can to stay ahead. And it's funny. It's weird seeing Red Bull not being the ones complaining, actually, because normally we're quite used to them being the ones going, no, we don't like that. No, you can't be doing that. Whereas they're going, no, we can be doing it. So it's quite nice seeing actually a little bit difference. Weirdly enough, actually, I don't know if AlphaTauri are running this wing. I know the rules nowadays mean you can't do as much like part sharing, so they can't literally go, hey, you can have these, but they are sister teams at the end of the day. So I actually haven't seen if AlphaTauri are running it, but I wonder if they are, and it's just not been highlighted. So yeah, that could be something else to maybe look at.
Yeah, you would have thought they would be, because similar key concepts behind their cars. You would have thought, Yeah, it's interesting. I have to check that out. So yeah, as we were saying before, there's not been a lot happening between the last race and this race. So that's been the main thing people have been talking about. Apart from that, it's just looking forward now to the next race now. So the battle commences. So the overall thing that we have to say that's come out of the last race is that the situation of both championships have changed now. So as we said, it's the first time in a long time that we're seeing Mercedes are not top of either world championships. Now the lead is with Red Bull and Max Verstappen. So that's a big change. And going into this race now, what's your thoughts on the picture and the landscape of things?
I mean, it's nice to have something different, isn't it? My biggest concern, admittedly, is Hamilton going into this extra level that he can find out of nowhere that just means the season done. Because he's going to be really annoyed, isn't he? Like, he finished seventh.
You don't see him finish seventh often like that, especially when his teammate was doing what I was saying, like Bottas was making the car run well there. I think Hamilton had some setup issues with the car, and then also the strategy for once on Mercedes this season was really poor of him. They went for the undercut, wasn't it, where pitted him early, thought they'd get him with the fresh tires, and then he'll come out after the pit stops ahead of people around him, but it worked out the other way around. And even Perez managed to jump him. So he was really upset on the radio. You heard the conversation on the radio. First of all, when he saw he's come out behind Vettel and Gasly, he's like, okay. Then his engineer had to sneak in, sorry, Lewis, but I think you're going to come out behind Perez as well. He's like, what's going on here?
But it made no sense as well. I mean, we don't see these things from Mercedes. We see these things from Ferrari typically, but Lewis had saved his tyres. That was the big thing. He even said on the radio, I've said I'm saving my tyres. I'm going long. And then they brought him in early. So he could have been pushing, but like we said, Monaco, you can't do that. You can't overtake. So yeah, save your tyres, then go for an overcut instead of an undercut. But they didn't let him do that. So it was just stupid decisions. I think Mercedes were hoping for a safety car. If I'm being totally honest, I think they were going, it's Monaco, it's going to be a safety car. I think they were sort of pinning it on that. But it was just a confusing decision. But I mean, I'm not too upset about it, to be perfectly honest. Like, it means the championship is being mixed up. But yeah, you know, Red Bull on top in both. It's just up to them now to stay there. We know that Mercedes and Hamilton are, and Bottas, sorry, we know that Mercedes, Hamilton, and Bottas are a well-oiled machine, apart from when it comes to wheel nuts, apparently. But yeah, it's up to Red Bull now, I think, more than Mercedes. And I know that sounds strange, but Red Bull, like we said, they cannot make any mistakes here on in if they want to win. So the pressure's on them. I think I can see the titles being split this year, weirdly enough. I could see it going to Hamilton winning the drivers and Red Bull winning constructors, something like that, maybe. But I don't know if we're going to see, for once, like a solid lockout, you know, a Mercedes and Hamilton win or a Red Bull and Verstappen win. I think it's going to be a bit of an interesting season, especially towards the end. So, yeah. But Baku, we should get on to our predictions. I have not thought about mine at all, so I'm going to let you go first. Qualifying, who are you picking?
All right, so as we'll say, this is more of a Mercedes track with the way the car's being this year. You know, we were saying the Honda engine's done really well, but still, from what we've seen, Mercedes have now taken that back away and they have the fastest engine again. Because you saw, like, with the DRS, you know, a couple of races where Hamilton was able to overtake Verstappen easily, and when Verstappen was behind Hamilton, the DRS wasn't helping him as much, you know. So definitely seems like Mercedes have that engine power again, the superior engine. On this track, it's going to be really important. It's a street circuit again, but it's nothing like Monaco. There's not as many slow corners, so I don't think Ferrari will be a threat. I think it's going to be a straight battle between the Red Bulls and the Mercedes, and I'm going for Mercedes to be slightly faster. One thing that favors Red Bull in qualifying is that they do heat up their soft tire really well, and they've managed to get in really good qualifying laps. So it could be close in qualifying. So even if Red Bull did manage to stick it on pole with Max, I still think Lewis would win the race. But I think that Lewis is going to be highly motivated, as you said. You know, we know what he's like. He's a born winner. He would be fuming with what happened in that last race. You know, just nothing went right for him, and he's going to want to come out and make a point. You know, he lost the championship lead as well, so he's going to get back as quick as he can. So I see him getting pole, win the race, and get the fastest lap. I'm waiting for him to get a hat trick. I just think it's going to be dominant from him. And so, sorry, I've already jumped into the race. I'll go back to qualifying.
No, that's fine. You go for it.
So with qualifying, I'm going to go for my front three. In qualifying will be Lewis on pole. I'm going to go for Bottas in second. Okay, I think the Mercedes will be that bit too fast for Red Bulls on this track. And then Max in third. And in the race, I'm going to go for a tricky one. Can I trust Bottas to hold off Max? I don't really think I can. So I'm going to go for Lewis to win, as I said. I'm going to go for Max to be in second place and Bottas in third. So that's my prediction there. What about yourself?
It's really difficult not to pick exactly what you've picked because I think you're spot on. But I'm going to be contraire. I'm going to pick something different. I'm going to go. It's really difficult to think because actually those guys are going to probably be the front runners. Yeah, Lewis on pole. I mean, he's, like we said, it's going to be really annoyed, and I think an annoyed and angry Lewis Hamilton is terrifying. And then, just to be slightly different to you, I'm going to put Max P2 and Bottas P3. Come the race, do you know what? I'm going to predict a safety car or two. Why not? Mazepin's on the track, so anything can happen back there. He didn't spin in Monaco, so I will give him that. You know, good job, Maz. But yeah, I think I'm going to put Lewis to win it, Max in second, and then I mean, it's tough to not pick Bottas for third, but let's pick Perez for P3. I think he'll get a Red Bull podium, his first one. We saw how well he did in Monaco, making those tyres last, going long. This track, yeah, is a little bit different to Monaco, but with that flexi wing, with his ability to save tyres, it should hopefully work out for him. So yeah, I think I'll go Lewis, Max, Sergio Perez for the race. But I think you're going to be very much spot on with your predictions, unfortunately.
Well, you know, we've seen some crazy races in the past. Remember that one, 2017, the one that Red Bull won with Daniel Ricciardo? It was unbelievably crazy. Just all kinds of things happened in the race, like instant after incident, you know. So it can happen again. And if it did, obviously, that could throw up a surprise winner or a surprise person on the podium. But in terms of the weather, there's no rain forecast at all. They're actually forecasting it's going to be quite warm. So another thing, we've not seen the cars racing too much heat yet. You know, Bahrain, they had it. and it seemed to suit the Red Bull. I know Lewis won
Mm.
that race in the end, but that was more down to the good strategy of Mercedes and him managed to make his tyres last longer. But let's see how they go now. Because normally, historically, even Mercedes works better when it's not so hot, and the Red Bull works better when it is hot. So that might play a factor. See how that goes. Another thing I found really interesting, I don't know if you heard these comments, so they're talking to Toto Wolff in the last race about the development of the cars, and he said, I don't know if he's sandbagging, he was just trying to play things down, but he said that they've stopped working on this year's car. They feel that they can unlock potential with what they have, so they've stopped working on any upgrades for it, and they're focusing fully on their 2022 car. Did you hear them comments?
I didn't, but that's terrifying, isn't it? Because I think they said that in 2018 and then 2019 it was dominance. They said that in 2019 and then 2020 was pure dominance. So, if they're that confident already that actually we've identified some areas where we could be quicker, and we saw the jump between testing where me and you, we sat on this podcast and said, Mercedes look really slow. And then they came and won the first race, won the first couple of races this season. So, that's a terrifying thought, isn't it? If they're that confident that they can get more out of the car, that's worrying. And then it's worrying for next season, obviously, for us, because we want an exciting season. But yeah, they're amazing, Mercedes. I think another thing as well, talking about Mercedes and Red Bull powertrains, obviously, starting next season, and they've been nabbing so many Mercedes engine guys, which is really cool to see. So, maybe that will kick up something different next season. But it's super hard to call, isn't it, next year? Obviously, we don't know anything. We still haven't seen what the cars will 100% look like yet. We don't know what's going to go on with the drivers. It could be a very, very mad off season, and I really hope it is. So yeah, God, if Mercedes are going to be fast next year, if they're that confident, I'm terrified. God, Red Bull must be absolutely terrifying.
There's two ways of looking at it though, because it might be a case where he's actually thinking, you know what, we're not sure about next year's car, so we're not too worried about this year's car because we're so confident that we can unlock more speed with what we have. So we're not going to worry about upgrading, finding too many upgrades to this year's car. We need to focus on more of our energy on next year's car because we're a bit worried about where we're going to be. Because a lot of teams, as we spoke earlier, teams like Haas, Ferrari, some of them like that are already thinking, you know what, this year's a bit of a write-off for us. So let's just focus fully ahead on next year's car, So, it could be a bit of that. With Red Bull, we know they're going to go all out for this year because this is their best chance they've had in many years, to get that championship. They've been bringing, the reason the question was asked of Toto was because in that race in Monaco, Red Bull bought quite a few upgrades. They bought a new floor and a few other bits and pieces when Mercedes hadn't bought anything. So that's why they asked him the question about what's your situation, what's your plans with upgrades for this year, and that's when he came back. And they were shocked. The commentators were quite surprised with that comment that already saying this early in the season, they're done with this year's car. They're not really focusing on any major upgrades. So it looks like there's a couple of ways of looking at it. And what's kind of worrying must be for Red Bull is that it means that because they're not going to want to give up on this year's championship. There's no way. It's a big thing for them, to win it. It'll be for Lewis. It'll be breaking the world record as well, won't it? So there's no way they're giving up on this year's championship. So it shows you they're very confident in this year's car, that they don't feel they need any upgrades with what they have already. They can unlock more speed, a few tweaks here and there. We've seen already, as you said, from testing to now, we've jumped up much. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Hopefully we get a close battle. I have a feeling. So I don't know if you remember, when we done the pre-season predictions just after testing, I went for Mercedes and I went for Lewis. Then I saw that first race and I saw the speed of Red Bull and I thought, I think I might be siding with Max and Red Bull. But now I'm going to change my mind again, I think. And I'm going to go back to Mercedes and Hamilton because from what I've seen again, I think that they're just, last week was a bit of a one-off track, as we know. Back in Monaco, not going to get tracks that many slow speed corners. And if you look at how the cars have behaved, both from over the track so far in general, it seems that Mercedes do have that advantage, especially in race pace, And it's really now the season where we go to the high speed tracks. As we know, we're going into the European season where we're going to be going to places like Silverstone, Spa, Monza. I think that's going to give Mercedes a big advantage. And I think, as you're saying, Lewis is really going to turn it on as well. He's going to go into that hammer time mode where only he can, and he's just going to pull away, I think, and win it quite comfortably. I hope I'm wrong. We all hope that it's going to be a close battle, just because it makes it more entertaining. But I just see that's the way it's going to be. But we're going to find out. The season's been great so far. Let's hope it continues. this weekend. Let's hope it continues right through to the end of the season. Thank you so much for your time, Ali.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, everyone. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you. Bye.